is Sunday, June the 1st. So everyone, if you're out there listening, relax. This is Two Guys, One Cup, an AFL adjacent podcast. I've just jazzed the intro up a little bit, Charlie. Charlie's staring at me like, what is going on right now? It's mid-season madness, mate.
Mid-season madness.
It's Bulldogs bye round. My name is Will Anderson.
And my name is Charlie Clausen. Dude, I'm digging the vibe. Whatever you're laying down, I'm digging my groovy cat, man, because I have felt so relaxed this round. Like, we do this every year. It gets to sort of the middle of the season bye round, and you and I always joke about how we feel like we need a bit of a break, that, we're getting a bit tired. And coming into this round, I was like, oh, I even actually sort of resolved to myself that maybe this will just be a round where I watch highlights or I don't watch any footy, and I had a lot of stuff to do around the house. And so that's kind of what I did, where I'd pay, a little bit of attention, if I had a 10 minutes or so, but I didn't watch any full games. But then I'd go watch the highlights, and it was sort of like, I thought I was getting the speed run of the round, and it was much more enjoyable because I was staying away from the hot takes. I was just sticking to the footy. And then today I was like, well, I've got to paint this window frame. I'll just have the Saints on in the background. Won't pay too much attention to it. And then it turns out then when I'm kind of ambivalent about football and don't pay much attention to it, the Saints put in probably one of the best performances of the year. So I'm like, this is great.
Well,
cost me nothing.
I mean, the Saints have realised that before you were a doormat, you were too needy. You were there for them through thick or thin, and they started to take you for granted. Whereas suddenly now you're like, you know what? Like, I'm not saying I'm moving out. I'm just saying, I guess this is an open relationship.
Yeah.
I can have you on in the background when I'm doing some cleaning as well. And then suddenly the Saints have to be, hang on a second, I'm going to doll myself up a little bit here.
We're going to play some good, quick footy. We're going to win the contested ball. We're going to win clearances.
So what happened in that game? Because I took the Bulldogs bye round. That's not true.
Yeah.
I've watched a couple of games, but I think that I've dipped in and out of footy pods even this season. Like, I'm not even listening to them in the same way as I was listening to them in the past. In fact, I think if you went back on this podcast and you said, there would have been times where I said I really only kept up with the game so that I could listen to the coverage of the game and enjoy the people talking about the game. Whereas I have completely flipped around to the opposite of that now. I am consuming so little football commentary programming, like I haven't watched AFL 360, I think more than like 2 episodes this entire season.
Same.
I haven't been watching any of the commercial TV football shows. I've been barely listening to any of the podcasts that I usually listen to, but I have been enjoying the game of AFL football in the doses that I want to enjoy it, rather than the fact that it's
5 milligram doses of football. Just start with 5 milligrams of football.
Just have half.
See how you go.
Just have a half. See how you feel about the first half. You don't have to commit to a whole one, right?
Yeah.
And I've been really getting the vibe of, so today, because I hadn't watched any footy today, just before we came on, I was like, you know what, I'll switch on the start of some Sunday footy pods and just get a little catch up on what's been going on. And I switched on 3AW and they were doing that classic, the buys sucked all the momentum out of the blah, 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 blah. And everyone's tired and everyone's angry at each other and it's mid-season and we all want a week off. That's what they're all saying. We need a week off. And I'm like, I don't need a week off. You're doing this wrong.
Yeah.
You've taken a thing that you used to love and you've made it a horrible job. Like, it should be the best job in the entire world. I think we've got to get back to the idea that we shouldn't expect. I think football commentaries become too professional. That's going to be my argument, right?
Okay.
And so everyone now is like everyone's expected to be across every game. Whereas I like the old days when like people would come in Tony Shaw style, having seen 1.5 games and just form opinions about the other 7 games they hadn't even seen. Like, I miss that being the majority of what's going on.
I feel like there is so much football media that's like every week I'm finding out about a new, like on a major platform, like tonight when because I didn't actually watch the last quarter of the Saints game. I had to have dinner and get Iona in the bath and then, did bedtime routine and stuff. And then as I was coming down to the office, I hit a button on my phone and there's something called the Wash Up with Kate McCarthy and Campbell Brown and some other guy. And like, that is literally the first time I've heard there's a show. I think it's Channel 7.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a show called The Wash Up? Like,
I think I wouldn't have been able to name what the show was called, but because I know K-Mac, when it got announced, I remember going, oh, that's great for K-Mac. That's fantastic, that show. But no, if you said to me, that person you know, a person who you literally texted with this week, what is the name of their show? I'd be like, I wouldn't have even necessarily
You could have
been
guessed
able to.
though, right? If I gave you 5 guesses, you would have just gone through some football cliches like final siren. I know
Yeah,
it's
that's
fine. He's
done.
got that one. You can't do that.
The rap.
Winner's Circle, Gatorade Bukaki.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, like you just have to go further and further into post-match cliches before you find the thing.
1 week at a time. Credit to the boys.
That meeting in the coach's room that they have behind closed doors.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah,
inner
that's
sanctum.
not bad, actually.
Yeah.
Inner sanctum.
But then I was like, oh, so Kate she does the round so far for AFL, and then she does the wash up. So it's like she must be the foremost authority on how a round's going, and then how it's going
and how it finished. That's right. She's got no idea how it started.
Yeah.
That's the one area.
It's like she woke up from a coma and we're 3 games in.
I don't know what's going on, but I'm on a plank and I'm juggling, so I better keep juggling.
It does feel like that though with a Thursday night game. Like now you get to Sunday. So who was? I mean, it was Brisbane and the Bombers.
Brisbane Lions.
Yeah.
So here's what I will tell you about both of those teams. Essendon, as we've talked about, they're just cruising along. They know they're in a rebuild, but they're managing to have some like good things happen while that is happening. Caddy is going to be an absolute, like, I mean, he's already great, but like he's fantastic.
Exciting.
I think they've got an okay future. But the Lions, here's what I'm loving about the Lions at the moment. The Lions are the good enough will do Lions. And I love this for them. They are really like, and another game that I watched that maybe we'll get to, Collingwood are up and about, or the Bulldogs, whoever, like people are going, oh, these teams are flying. Brisbane are just like, get it done. Right?
That'll do.
That'll do. Yeah, Fake showed them Babe at the start of the season. Every season has a theme, and this season's theme is that'll do, pig, that'll do.
Yeah, you can't say that to players. You'll get reported to HR these days.
Yeah, that's
call a player
point.
a pig.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, that'll do, Bear. That'll do.
But they, we talked about it last week. Their defense of their premiership, it couldn't really be going any better because they're either that'll do in a game or they'll rise to the occasion, when they get challenged. But even in their losses to like Melbourne and who else did they lose to? Someone else. Like they've been very good. It's just that they haven't put in that one blitzkrieg quarter.
Well, that's the problem with the that'll do approach is occasionally that won't do.
Yeah. But
right?
when they get to finals.
But if you're doing that'll do, in the finals, the that'll do level just gets like you need to do more for that to do.
Yeah. And it's also like, I think it's a win-win, that game.
Yeah.
Because even like with the Saints today, I was like, if we get overrun, but we stay with them for the full game, then I'm okay with that because we're not playing finals this season. So good performance, just lose by a little bit, maintain your kind of the way people think about you.
Well, that's like Richmond, right?
Yes,
Richmond
totally.
were a huge
Honourable
win-win.
losses.
Yes. That's exactly what you want if you're a Richmond fan.
And they got it.
7 of the top 10 draft picks of next season, and also being one of the better teams in the bottom 4.
And the Bombers as well. So like the Bombers shot out to 34 points in that first quarter. Do you forget sometimes too that Todd Goldstein's still playing? Like he bobbed up for that goal in the third quarter, and you're like, oh, that's right. But then I started going like, when did he start? Like, what did he? Because when I think of Todd Goldstein, I think of him as like a 2000s era, like a Bulldog Scott West era player. But surely he's not that old. Surely he's a teens.
Because what is he? He's 37 or something, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like Goldstein.
Yeah.
And so what I love is firstly that he seems old and Pendlebury's the same age basically. And he seems absolutely fine and young and hip. So I think part of it is that Todd Goldstein just has an old looking head. Like he's one of those guys that when he arrived, I think he probably looked old already because he's just got, I mean, I reckon if you saw me and Todd Goldstein together, and someone said I reckon people might think he looks older than me, and he's a good 14 years younger than I am.
Because he's had a receding hairline for 20 years, but it hasn't actually receded. It just looks like it's receding.
No,
it's actually a proceeding hairline. It gets further from the back to the front than back from the front to the back.
Yeah, I'm going to Google Todd Goldstein debut because I really want to actually now work out when it was that he started playing.
I'm going to guess. I'm going to say 2003 because normally big men start a bit later, right?
Okay, so he's actually only 36 years old.
Okay.
So, but he was born on the 1st of July, so he's almost one month away from being 37 years old.
Yeah.
All right.
Debut year?
Where are we? So I'm looking. Original team, he played for the Oakley Chargers and Trinity Grammar. He was drafted number 37 in the 2006 national draft.
Loves
by
37,
the Kangaroos.
right? He was drafted 37. He's about to turn 37. Yeah. Imagine in his final season, he kicks 37 goals and retires.
I mean, if he kicks 37 goals, he won't retire. I get the impression. Also he doesn't want to retire. Yeah. I think he has already stated that he would love to play on again next season. So, and if he's happy to just be this guy, the guy that you call upon if everybody else gets injured or falls over and then does a really good job. He made his debut in 2007.
Okay. Oh, so that's relatively new. It's funny too, like with ruckman, isn't it? Like ruckman.
Actually, sorry, 2008. Round 15, 2008. He against Port Adelaide.
Ruckman are like drummers in the sense that you're allowed to make fun of them, and I just don't know why the people are allowed to get away with that. Like if I was the biggest, strongest guy in my team and people made jokes about me being dumb or unco, I'd bash them.
Yeah, like
it's weird, right? That the biggest and the strongest players in our game are mocked. And like, is it part of that sort of Australian tall poppy syndrome thing where it's like, oh, we've got to take the big guy down, got to lower his confidence?
It's the ultimate tall poppy. It's literally just
the tallest poppy.
Yeah, he's the tallest poppy. That's how they understood that phrase at AFL level.
Well, just thinking in every other sport though, like NBA, NFL, or whatever, they like celebrate they're big gladiators.
It's true, actually.
And AFL, we're like, look at that big dumb dork is uncoordinated. Don't let him kick it. Don't let him kick for goal. Ooh, this could go anywhere.
I think part of it is that though, like in that the skill set of what you are required to do in AFL doesn't suit being graceful as a tall person. Like, all the things that can go wrong with like a kick, for example, like a high ball drop for things to, go like they're all, and just the way they run and even
the way they run like a normal person. This is the thing.
Don't, they run like baby giraffes.
Everyone brings up that Justin Madden clip, where he had a couple of bounces and kicked that goal, and everyone's like, "Look at that weirdo." And it's like he's got big limbs, but that's perfectly normal running style for someone who's over 6'5".
But here's what I would say about the Lloyd Meek incident, right? I don't know if you saw the Lloyd Meek thing, and so does he get 3 weeks, or does he? Or was it a clumsy attempt at a spoil, right? I think the reason that people are going, oh, maybe it's a clumsy attempt at a spoil is because he's a big, dumb, clumsy ruckman.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like he's got that vibe of, oh, look at him. He can't stop himself. He's fallen into him.
Yeah. The attitude is you're Lenny of Mice and Men.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't know. Don't let him give you a hug after a goal because he might squeeze you too tight and kill you.
That's right.
You just said Caleb Daniel dead. Yeah. Christian Cherry's just shaking him, being, I just wanted to celebrate with him. Head's just lolling about.
They had to fake an injury for Will Day after he was crushed by Lloyd Meek in a post-goal celebration.
Let's talk about the Hawks for a sec. This is delicious.
I watched that game. Did you watch it?
Yes.
Well, before we get to Hawthorn, can I just say Collingwood are so good at football. That was one of those games where you were like, this team, just how good are they to watch play? The pressure, the intensity, all over the field, they looked like the best team in the competition by a lot.
They have two of the best kind of one-on-one, if you're going to kick it to a 50-50 and it's Nick Dacos or Bobby Hill,
Yeah.
Probably going to win that.
I mean, how good is
On
Bobby
Jamie
Hill?
Elliott, for fuck's sake.
I mean, Jamie Elliott having his best season of all time is so good. Again, at this stage of his career where he looked like he was going to be one of those guys who we always knew he was a gun. And he's had great seasons, but injury interrupted or hasn't been able to, make it work for an entire season for often reasons that are beyond his control. And, I think a lot of them are tattoo-related injuries. Like, can't play, getting some more ink. What do you know what the story behind Jamie Elliott not celebrating is? Is there because he is the
I don't know.
most low-key celebrator, I reckon, in the AFL.
Is it just because he's cool?
But it's like real, like nothing, like gives everyone nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've never really considered it, but you're right. Like he's just, he strikes me as a sort of a cool customer anyway. Like, so maybe it's, like in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Oz, and Xander's saying, "Hey, how do you be cool?" And he's like, "Is it you just don't say much, you don't react much? Is that?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's how you be cool." And I think that's the Jamie Elliott philosophy. Is like
we don't know anything about Jamie Elliott, right?
Well, it's funny too because he's another one of those players where it's like, when did his career start? Because I remember him starting with a bang and being like this, amazing kind of small forward, and then, like you say, he got injured for a while.
Do you remember there was a character? I mean, we're really going. Is it?
Are we going to talk about memories? Sorry, go.
Well, not really in an AFL context, but do you remember? This is real TOEFOP areas, but do you remember on Lost there was a character who never got old? There was that guy who. He's the guy who was in Dark Knight, like the mayor. He's that.
The guy looks like he's wearing eyeliner.
He's wearing eyeliner. That guy.
Yeah.
And he was ageless. And Jamie Elliott is that of the AFL because he looks exactly the same age-wise as he did when he first started.
There's a few players who but I'd say the same for Tim English. Like that's why we keep arguing he's got to change his hairstyle because I just don't.
I know, but Jamie Elliott's been in the competition for another 10 years than Tim English.
If I had to guess how many seasons Elliott's play, what would it be? So
okay, great. Yeah, let's do this.
I feel like he wouldn't be how
old do you think Jamie Elliott is?
2012 was his debut season. 13 years seems about right. He's a veteran, so
made his debut in round 9, 2012.
Oh, it's close.
That was good. That was really good.
What did I say? 2015.
You said 2012.
Okay, yeah. So I'm a genius.
Well, that last 10 seconds or so might have shined a little bit of your genius off, but so he debuted, so this is his 13th or 14th season in the competition.
Yeah, right.
And he's only played, how many games do you reckon he's played in that time?
Well, he's injured a lot. It feels like he missed like 3 or 4 years just out of injury. So I'm going to say 220. 206
games he's played in that time. Now, how many goals has he kicked in 206 games?
Okay, so 13 seasons, but you'd rule out, so maybe 9 seasons generously if he's kicked, so 312.
Not bad, 320.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm a genius.
The way that you keep saying I'm a genius afterwards is... But then there's no other information about him on this Wikipedia page. It's just
really?
And then everything else is like, shh.
So there's no interviews. See if you can pull up any. Do some quick research on Jamie Elliott to find out.
Jamie Elliott interview. You feel some time while
I will.
So tell me what. Yeah, go on.
So regarding the Pies and the Hawks, I actually wasn't going to watch it, and I wasn't watching it. But in my Saints chat, a lot of people were saying, "Hey, gee, the Hawks fans are really getting into Josh Battle." And so I was like, he's playing a terrible game. And then I was like, this is not like, I like Josh Battle when he was at the Saints, but I did have to tune in to see, and it's like, oh yeah, he was not having a great game, but it was also just one of those games where the Pies just looked unstoppable. Everything. It's funny. The Pies were out hawkballing the Hawks. It felt like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only good Hawk player was Jack Ginnivan. Like this was a classic 2 guys 1 cup game because Cheeky Jack was playing well, but the Hawks they've got the Bulldogs next week. So I hate that we're going to get them off that week where all eyes are going to be on the Hawks and they're going to have to do something. But they were really Like, I mean, Sicily, I know it's become a bit of a cliche to comment on how bad a form he's been in this season, but it wasn't just him. There was a whole bunch of those guys who looked unstoppable last year who just really, I mean, you can have a very bad night against Collingwood and they can make you look pretty embarrassing, but it was, yeah, they were not good. They looked okay in the first quarter, like I thought, but after that, no good. All right. So here we go.
What do we got about Jamie Elliott?
This is actually quite a recent article. So John Ralph has sat down with Jamie Elliott, April 10th, 2025. So
Wreck-It Ralph.
If Jamie Elliott had followed his gut feel last year, the AFL would have been denied another season from one of footy's great excitement machines. So there you go. If he had declined the surgery that put multiple toes at risk amid a complicated vascular concern in his foot, he would have never been where he is today. 14 years into a career with a premiership, a Mark of the Year title, and so many freakish individual highlights. Elliott's officially a member of the... Oh, he's in the Collingwood leadership group, right? Okay. So last year he had a vascular issue that saw multiple blood clots preventing him from getting enough blood supply to his toes.
Oh, God, maybe that's why he's not celebrating.
He's like, I've just got no blood flow, mate. I'm sorry. I've got the doctors told me I cannot celebrate. I can play, but I cannot celebrate, or I'll die. My toes will fall off. Wow. Okay. So the surgeon said there were a few options they had to consider, and a couple of them were pretty grim. One of them was retiring. One of them was having surgery where there was a chance I could lose a couple of toes if they got it wrong.
Fucking hell.
When he said that, I was like, I'll retire. I don't want to go through that. And then I sat with it for a week and I was thinking, I don't know. I love footy. And I don't even like my toes that much.
Are you saying this?
No, I added the toes bit. But up until then, that was Jamie Elliott. I don't know. I love footy. And there was a small chance it could happen. So I put it in the hands of the surgeon. So, hang on. I'm going to describe to you what they did because he's describing to it here. They went through my pubic area.
Oh, yeah.
Put a tube down there and it goes to your main arteries down your leg and your body produces something which thins your blood naturally. So, okay, so they just put this thing from
through his pubic area, his pubic bone down, I imagine.
Yeah, down. And then they dissolve this stuff, put
into his leg?
Stuff into it that gets rid of the blood clot, apparently.
Fuck that.
Right?
Like... It's so, whenever you hear what professional athletes put up with just to get through a season, it's like, I could not make a living off my body and dealing with pain.
Oh, hang on. We're about to learn something about Jamie Elliott here.
Okay.
So Elliott was famously considered not fit enough to be draftable.
Okay.
Until the
community
in Euroa got together to help him thrust his name forward. With father Jamie having passed away of cancer when Jamie was 13.
So he's Jamie Jr.
Jamie Jr. Oh, Junior. Why are we not calling him Junior, by the way? Maybe because his dad died when he was 13. Maybe that's actually probably. Actually, let's not bring that up all the time. I've worked it out really quickly. I'm a genius. With father Jamie having passed away of cancer when Jamie was 13, mum Fiona worked 2 jobs to make ends meet while the local farmer and fitness coach, Kevin McFarlane, put him through an intensive program in a gym on his farm.
Oh, good on you, Kev.
Yeah.
This sounds like an inspirational indie movie. Like a small kid who's lost his father, has big dreams, but either doesn't have the resources or the motivation. And then a kindly but gruff farmer says, come, I don't know, throw hay bales around in my shed till you build your fitness space. It's also amazing too that like you can sort of understand it like when you hear about private school kids getting into these, getting drafted and stuff. And it's like, oh, they hired a personal trainer, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay, well, their family obviously have the means and the resources. But for a kid like that, growing up in a country town, like what do you do? Like it must be so much harder.
I mean, I love that too because I can just imagine in this movie we're going to make about Jamie Elliott.
Yeah. We'll call it Twinkle Toes.
Twinkle Toe. So You got this like local legend who's helping him train in the hay shed, lifting hay bales and, whatever he might be doing.
Yeah, he's kicking footies between like, those big tankards of milk and stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking like it's a Mr. Miyagi style, but just using the stuff that's on the farm, right? Like, you know how they do that like test where they drop those things and you've got the reaction test and stuff like that? But he's doing that with like milking machines. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like the machines come off and young Jamie has
what's Jamie known for? Yeah. High mark, sensational grab, and is a great kick under pressure. Yeah. So what would be the Miyagi setup for that? Is he's having to jump, like what was he jumping on a farm? Like he just has to jump over a tractor. You can jump the
jumping
tractor.
Cows.
Stacking cows.
Yes.
Every day he comes back and there's another cow on top of another.
Yeah, that's right. And this guy is like, one day you'll be one of the greatest footballers of all time, but you have to make me one promise: never celebrate.
That's right.
True winners don't celebrate. It's not the country way. It's not the Euroa way to celebrate our success. You keep stony face at all times.
Did it say in your research where he was drafted? Was he a high draft pick? Did you say? They thought he was too unfit to be drafted.
Yeah, that's right.
When did he eventually get picked up?
I'll have a look and see if it's.
So if he started playing in 2012, that was when the Pies were still in premiership contention because they've won it in 2010, lost it in 2012, and then they're thereabouts with Bucks for another couple of years, aren't they? I can't remember what happens to the Pies after that, if it's a quick drop off or not.
Okay. In his, let's see here. In 2011, he nominated for the AFL draft. He represented Victoria Country at the championships. He was invited to play 2 games for Collingwood in the VFL. His performances during the year saw him pre-listed by GWS as one of the 10 players of an AFL deal. And then as part of this deal, Elliott was traded to Collingwood at the end of 2011. So he wasn't technically drafted, I don't think.
That's interesting. Him and Toby Green in the same team because they're a similar type of player. Toby's got a bit more on ball, but in terms of just like creative, crafty, reliable, small forward.
Yeah, it's true. Oh, by the way, GWS, we should mention Callan Ward. Really tragic that he played on basically for one of the originals, of course, like went from the Bulldogs to go and play at...
How much did that hurt when he left the Dogs? Because he was a gun even when he was playing for you.
And so loved at the Bulldogs.
He's such a Bulldogs player too. Like he's got that kind of DNA.
He was definitely a future Bulldogs captain and ended up, of course, captaining GWS as well and co-captaining GWS and maybe even did it himself at one stage. But
is that the compo pick he used to get Bontempelli maybe?
I don't know is the answer, but I just like the fact that his family, I believe, has moved back to Melbourne this season because, for support reasons and family, and he basically was going to do that as well. And then GWS said, come on, there's a chance we'll win we could win the premiership this year, just play for one more year. And so for him to, I guess he's not going to miss anything. It looks like.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel like he's going to miss them winning a premiership, but you never know. They could turn it around, but it doesn't feel like at the moment that it's the tragedy of, oh my God, this was the big chance that he was going to hold up the cup.
Well, not to rub salt into Callan's wound, but we put the call out for feel good stories to our listeners, and we had someone write into us, Mark. This is at the start of the week, saying a feel good story most GWS fans are writing this year is, can the Giants win a flag for Callan Ward?
Yeah.
Ward is a legend who, without doubt, all 18 clubs would want in their team, except maybe the Bulldogs, who let him go after 4 seasons. I don't think you let him go.
What the hell? Let's not rewrite history. Let him go.
The Bulldogs do have a unique ability to shed players, though. Like, it's strange. I know this is a pre-Bevo era, but people do like to leave the Bulldogs. I think
people leave everywhere.
I don't know. It seems to happen to the Bulldogs more. Okay.
We've got a very nice facility now, though. Like in the old days, I can imagine you might be like, the grass is greener on the other side of it. But like the western suburbs of Melbourne are like cool now. Like we've got an $80 million facility. I think it's like good to be a Bulldog.
I remember
unless you're Josh Dunkley or, Jamara or Bailey Smith
or Marcus Adams or... I remember when I was a kid going to watch the footy at the Whitten Oval, Western Oval back then, or was hang on, what was it, the Western Oval?
Yeah, it was the Western Oval.
It was the Western Oval back then.
It's been renamed the Whitten Oval.
And they used to, the coaches box, I'm not sure if you remember this, but to access the coaches box, the coaches had to climb a ladder to get into the coaches box. Do you remember that?
I do.
Can you imagine Fags trying to fucking get up a ladder these days to coach a game?
I mean, that would be great if the Bulldogs made the grand final and our one demand was bring the ladders back for old time's sake. We're going up against the Lions. Yeah, that's right. We want the ladders.
So, all right, out of all the coaches, who's the quickest up the ladder? Who's the slowest?
Oh, that's
Fags is the slowest. I reckon Ross
Craig
Lyon
McRae would be quick up the ladder. Like he's got that, quick, nimble. I feel like Craig McRae, you know?
Yeah. So Dean Cox, too slow, too big.
Too slow, too big for Dean Cox.
I think Adam
Dimmer would be
Kingsley's
fine, but
he's got the pipes to pull himself up quickly, but maybe too much weight.
But he's got a lot of weight to carry up there, doesn't he?
Yeah. Ross Lyon, too old. Hinkley, too old. What about
Justin Longmuir? What about Longmuir?
I'd put Goodwin and Longmuir in the same category. You know, maybe even Josh Carr. They're sort of like those mid-sized.
Yeah, I don't think Matthew Nix is getting up a ladder. Kenny Hinkley, I reckon Kenny Hinkley's got that farm strength, you know?
Yeah, what about Dimmer?
Like he might surprise. Well, Dimmer, I don't know. I would just suspect on lung capacity since he's been on there.
Suspense, like all this, just holding to the rungs. What's this made from?
Wow,
is this like polished oak or? Wow, geez.
I guess everything's a ladder, right? You go up, you go down. The AFL's got a ladder. Is this the AFL ladder? Where are we on the ladder? I'd like to be at the top of the ladder.
I reckon Fly's good. Craig McRae, zippy and small. So he. I
reckon he's just got that. Like you can imagine him.
I saw Ken Sheldon when he was coaching the Saints. He was climbing, and he was a forward pocket, similar size to McRae, and he zipped up that ladder at one point because the fans were yelling, "Hey, Kenny!" And he stopped and he hitched up his the leg of his pants, and he had St Kilda socks, like long St Kilda socks under his pants. You
know, there's like 95 football-related shows on at the moment, and they mostly are talking about the same things. But I'm going to be surprised if anyone venture into which coach do you think will be quicker up a ladder this week.
I'm not talking about that on agenda setters. Turn that into like a hot button issue. What did you think of the mini kind of furor between Ross and Damien Hardwick last week over the Nepo babies gag?
Part of the theatre of the sport, I thought.
Yeah, it's funny too because I sort of felt like there was the footy shows or the reporting on it went one of two ways, which was like, oh, this is all a bit of fun. Like, you know, there's not much talk around these two clubs. This could be a good chance for a bit of rivalry. But then there was people who seemed to take it quite seriously. And the accusation...
or that the Gold Coast had taken it seriously.
The Gold Coast chairman saying that they're accusing us of corruption. No, we're not. It's a fucking joke. It was a throwaway pre-interview joke. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, but also... is that part of the theatre as well, right? Like, is that part of what the Gold Coast need to... Yeah, and as long as it's all kind of part of the theatre, and then at the end of the day, we're like, morning Sam, morning Ralph, you know, like, and everyone goes home and everything's fine.
Well, that was...
then I don't mind any of that.
That was what John O'Brien, I saw him say, like, it's good. He's gone, you've got Dimmer and what's his face, the president have to stand up for the club, so it's good that they fire back. Ross gets to have a dig at them, you know, to stand up for his club. It's all good. Like, this is what it should be. As long as people don't take it seriously.
I love the people who were just like, oh, well, when he was coach of Richmond, he complained about Gold Coast getting all these advantages, and now he's the coach of Gold Coast, and he thinks it's fine. I'm like, yeah, I can see one major thing that's changed that might really turn your opinion around on that, don't you reckon?
It's about $4 million. But also, too, did you see, because I think the reason why Ross said it is we bid on Leo Lombard in the last year's draft, and Gold Coast matched the bid. And then you saw this week that Leo Lombard got selected, and they released this video, and it was like Dimmer and it's a very sweet video actually. Leo Lombard's mum letting him know he's in the team, and Dimmer's like saying why, you know, it's so great, and he dropped the word academy about 6 times. This is why we have the academy, and we need the academy, and this is why the academy is so important, and parents give up everything so their kids can go to the academy, and that's why we the academy at the academy.
I loved the way this all played out, because also they announced that he was in the team like 2 days before teams came out.
Yeah.
Like it was a real response to like, so you make this academy joke, they get mad about the academy joke, they like get this guy to play, they mention the academy lots, then he kicks a goal in the game, has one of the greatest celebrations.
Yeah, Jamie
of all
Elliott's just
time.
sitting there with the arms crossed,
Jamie
going, "This guy will never win a flag."
Euroa. Don't go by Euroa, mate.
Yeah.
Don't drive through like you're on the Gold Coast and not Euroa way.
How about that fucking Gold Coast game? What a that was probably the one I watched the most of. I probably watched.
I didn't see
half
any
that
of it.
game.
I literally just saw that goal in the celebration.
Fuck, man, Freo. What to make of Freo? It was such a good win by them. Like in the wet, looks like the Gold Coast were coming with a rush. They'd built like a fairly kind of, in the wet, a 20-point lead's fairly solid, but then Gold Coast got it within the kick. And then they just fought back and just through tough, gritty, not the kind of performance you associate with Freo necessarily. Like you think of Freo, you think of like freewheeling, fun, kind of Larry, but this was just like a really good win. But I feel no clearer on Fremantle than I did at the start of the season.
Foggy Fremantle, you know what I mean? Like everyone says Flake Mantle, but it's not even that anymore. It's like, it's not like I guess they kind of are flaky, but it's more just that you're like, I don't know what they're about. They're good, they're bad, who knows?
What's their identity?
I don't know.
Yes.
They are what they are. Maybe they're just complicated, and we have to accept them as being complicated.
I think it's dismissive to say like the St Kilda of the West, but there is a lot of similarities in the sense it's like success starved, capable of brilliant performances, beachside suburb,
bit cool,
but also like just you have no expectation of success. Like
what are they? Sometimes they're good for reasons that you can't comprehend.
Like even West Coast have the courtesy to be either very good or very bad.
No,
like,
you get what
middling.
West Coast are. They were great, and now they're terrible.
Yeah.
That's what West Coast are. We absolutely get West Coast. But Fremantle, St Kilda, they're just wandering through this world like absolute renegades. You don't know what's happening.
Just the mid-table Mavericks. That's what they should start their own competition, the mid-table Mavericks.
Yes, because they are like that. It feels what they are because they're like from week to week. You're just like, I don't know. I do not know what I'm going to get this week. But it doesn't mean that it will be bad. Because sometimes I think with those teams, we think that the bad performance is the exception. Whereas I would like to argue that both the good and the bad performances are the exceptions because that's what they are. They're just exceptions. They are made up of these complicated parts that no one can really get a handle on.
But it's the season, right? Like this is the season where if you're up for 3 or 4 weeks, you're going to lose.
So, but also, if you're up at the right part of the year, all you got to do is get yourself in the game when it matters at the end of the year. And then all bets are off, I reckon, in this new competition. I mean, I think Collingwood look like the best team, but Brisbane feel to me like they're, trotting along going, all right, but like, we can still get this all together. And if it all clicks and it all works, we could absolutely. But then there's like a bunch of teams like the Bulldogs and Fremantle and Geelong even, like where you're just like, what is going on? What is going on? What's going on?
Perfect time to do our vibe check. And this will be especially confusing considering there's 4 teams who are on a bye. But starting
Collingwood are on top of the ladder. That's all.
Correct.
That's what I can tell you for sure. Collingwood are on top of the ladder.
Yep.
Then second on the ladder, Brisbane.
Yep.
Okay.
Third may surprise you because I was shocked when I saw this.
Okay, so it won't be the Gold Coast because they lost. They were right up and about there. Okay, Fremantle.
Who had a big win?
Who had a big win, a very big win. It's not St Kilda.
No.
So hang on, who did have a really big win?
I mean, well, think about it. There was one game this round that was a complete humiliation. People talked more about the losers than the winners. That's probably why it's not coming to mind. But think about who is everyone potting today.
Maybe I've missed this. Who is everyone potting today?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's a team that I've had a personal issue with over the last couple of years.
Oh, Sydney?
No. So the Crows.
No, the Crows.
I know. It doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah, I was going to say Sydney are terrible. They can't be Sydney.
No, it's not Sydney. The team that beat them, who kicked 12 unanswered goals, with a percentage that is higher than anyone else in the competition because of that game. So they're on 139.3. Two wins off top spot.
I will tell you that what you're saying about everybody complaining about like Sydney being like no good and what's going on with Sydney was so pervasive because I did see some of that today, but it was so pervasive. I never clocked who they'd played.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though. It's all about the losers.
Yeah, like I literally didn't. No, I did see that maybe Rochelle had done something fancy. There was like a little highlight that I saw.
Yeah, he did a soccer pass. It was that Harlem Globetrotters, Washington Generals cliche that's come up a few times this season. It just Sydney were so off the boil, and it's interesting. Look, I didn't want this to happen. I've had an issue not with the Swans. I've had an issue with Swan supporters. That's been my problem. Yeah. I think about that obnoxious woman and that guy who wanted to fight me at the football last year. And I did have like a little smile did come to my face thinking that maybe their weekend had been ruined by this result. But what I'm interested to see play out is how diehard will these Swans fans be? Like if this is a West Coast situation and they just fucking bomb out this season, like it's not talking about next year, but this season, because I saw a few empty seats already. Yeah. And I'm like, I wonder how long, because Sydney loves a winner. If the Swans have a fucking garbage season, how quick will the crowds drop off?
Is it too early to suggest we just merge the two Sydney teams again?
No, let's do it. The Sydney Giants.
Giant Swans. The Sydney Giant Swans.
That's horrifying. Imagine what a giant swan would look like. Their logo can be a swan just tearing through the harbour bridge or something.
They just like Godzilla. Make it bigger. And at the games, the mascot is Godzilla size. Just
looming over the ground. But I'm serious. Like, I want to know because the Swans fans have had it so good for like 20 plus years.
Errol's back in a couple of weeks.
And when you go to the games, like, look, this is one thing I can't question Swans fans. They're enthusiastic. Like when you go to the SCG, they love it. They know their shit a little bit, like maybe not all the rules, but they know all the players and stuff. And there's really, I mean,
that puts them ahead of us because we absolutely don't know all their players.
And the umpires in some instances, it seems. But I want to know how many of these supporters are fair weather and how many are rusted on. Because I think you got that Bloods culture that has permeated definitely like this. I reckon there's a real group of hardcore. We're going to turn up every week, to the SCG when we're playing a home game. But I do feel like there's that finance bro influencer element.
It was a little bit of like, what we could do tonight instead of going to the Swans? Take some cocaine and go to Vivid.
Yeah.
They put up a lot of pretty lights around Sydney Harbour. Let's go and have a look at them instead.
Of course. I didn't realise Vivid's on at the moment. So that's probably where they are.
That's right. Oh, it's tough, mate. It's tough competition for the Eastern Suburbs crowd. Vivid.
Australian rules football or colourful lights.
I think the Swans are going to have to ask them to project the games onto the sales of the Sydney Opera House.
I mean, what do you reckon? Do you think the Bloods culture will hold this team, the supporter base together through this? Because even like the Eagles, you see them still turning up 40,000 to a home game.
Yeah, because they've got
garbage.
like 200,000 members. And so like the members are just grateful to get in, they're like, but yeah, I think in Sydney, I think it will get better for Sydney. I don't think they are going to be West Coast. I don't think that is the situation they have found themselves in.
I don't. This season,
what do they do for the next half of this season to make sure people are interested? I think when Goulden and Mills and a few of those guys are back, they will start playing better footy, and that will help. But yeah, it's going to be tough in Sydney when there's so many fun things to do during the winter to make sure that you get everybody's attentions if the Swans are just going to not make the finals.
So Wayne Malera from the Adelaide Crows, after the game, he was doing an on-ground interview, and they were asking him, could you sort of sense that the Swans were off? And he sort of said an offhanded comment, something about them being a rabble. And then, like, it was not even like a firestorm, but like just like the Nepo babies comment, it got reported back. And so he had to come out today and apologize, which the Swans have accepted. And it wasn't even like he was laughing. He was just saying they were arguing amongst themselves. He even said they seemed to be a bit of a rabble. Not even they were a rabble.
A full rabble. We're not saying they're a full rabble. Yeah. They're not a rabble alliance. They are but they are
no hamburgers. They're no rebel.
Yeah, they have elements of rabble. There was a hint of rabble out there. I will say this, that I don't think that a player should have to apologise for saying something like that.
That seems way too sensitive.
That's dumb, right?
And like everyone
because
would
also
understand.
It's more heat on you, because there'll be debate all week now about Sydney, was Wayne right?
Yes.
Like, Sydney actually a rabble or not?
Do you think they demanded an apology? God, that would be so funny if it came out that they did.
Yeah, I mean, if that happens, then shut down the SCG and everyone go home for it. Like, get horseback.
Yeah.
Like, the whole place has gone to shit. It's a rabble. Like, get horseback.
Have you ever heard rabble, like in relation to anything that is not football related? Mm-hmm. The only time I hear it is in football season. They're all rabble. You rabble rouser.
Yeah, rabble rouser. He's a bit of a rabble. I think comedy, I reckon rabble gets thrown around a little in the world of comedy.
That crowd was a real rabble.
Yeah, but also comedians have a rabble-esque vibe. Do you know what I mean? Like, they could collectively can be described as a bit of a rabble, I reckon. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? So. Like, not organized or disciplined or structured. I think Wayne Miller saw my show and said it was rabble-ish.
And what about the D's? We should just sort of we talked about the Saints and Blue at the start. Yeah. Where you?
Well, you tell me what happened.
Oh, okay. They just they kicked. I had 8 more scoring shots than us. They missed some absolutely gettable goals, but Cozzy got sat on by Marcus Windhager.
Literally.
Yeah, like Marcus Windhager had like 28 touches.
Just went out there and just like
pinned him to. He did the typewriter on him first, then spat in his open mouth. I mean, it's not against the rules technically.
I'm not in your back, mate. Yeah. I'm not in your back.
It was graded low impact, high. Play on. They just looked off, and the Saints jumped him in the first quarter. We got out to a 5-goal lead, and so they never could quite reel it back in below 2 goals. And the Saints played well. We're good on a big open ground like Alice Springs.
Yeah. I mean, there's the Alice Springs of it all as well, you know, like it's just...
Well, is it a fortress for them or
there,
not?
I think Melbourne.
Huh?
I think Melbourne do pretty well normally at Alice Springs though, don't they? Like, is their record pretty good there?
Yeah. You know who, it's the first time I've really watched this season because I've heard a lot of talk around him, is Clayton Oliver, and he didn't have a very good game.
Oh, he didn't, did he? The last couple of weeks he's been good because he's kind of been tagging or like playing alongside someone who's mostly got him to the right areas. But is there a chance St Kilda don't have that person?
Exactly. It's like, who am I going to tag? They're all plotters. Got no one to go to. I'm excited to see Dan Butler was back in the side.
Yeah, that's good.
Good, and kicked 4 goals. It's good to have.
You forget that he's like an absolute gun.
Premiership player.
Yeah, like really good player.
Really good player. I'm happy with the Saints. We are the mid-table Mavericks along with the Dockers. We never finished the top 8, so we've got 1 through 4. Who's in 5th position?
Did they play this
perennial
weekend?
top 8 team?
Geelong.
All right. The Hawks are just under them. And then this is the interesting part. Who was 7th and 8th?
So I'm going to say the Bulldogs are out of the 8 because of the bye.
Correct. Yep.
So 7th and 8th, Fremantle.
Yes, are in 8th.
And so GWS won, so they could be still in GWS?
It's GWS.
Yeah.
But that seems undeserved, doesn't it? For some reason, my impression of the Giants season is they shouldn't be in the top 8, but they are.
Yeah, where are Essendon?
They're just outside. They're equal on points to the Bulldogs in 10th, but their percentage is terrible.
Yeah,
84.6.
But you wouldn't suggest that like the Bulldogs and Essendon are having similar seasons, and they are on the same points.
Yeah, but you're one game. They've played 1 extra game.
I know, but you know,
it's still a difference of like 1 game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's get to the mailbag. If you want to send something into us, there's 2 ways of doing that. You can either go to everyonerelax.co and then just there's a contact form there. You just select 2 guys, 1 cup from the drop-down menu. Or you can just put in your email, 2guys1cupafl@gmail.com.
Okay.
We're talking about which coach would be able to climb a ladder. This came in from Sally. Thank you for covering the big issues. I've been thinking a lot about your hotties and noddies. My husband and early 20s boys have another topic we love to speculate about and think this might fit into your footy adjacent pod. Who
do you think, by the way, in the Lloyd Meek case of the head-high contact, it will be taken into account that Paddy Lipinski is one of the AFL's hotties? Like, is there a higher precedent on protecting his head?
So he gets the sanction's going to be tougher for messing up his beautiful face.
Because, like, I mean, we've got to protect all heads. Yeah. But let's be honest, some of them are barely worth protecting. Yeah. Where it's like, this is like quite a like in the same way as you get charged more for stealing something of more value. Yeah, yeah. Is there a
it's the Isaac Haney rule. Don't touch it. They rank which coaches would win in a fight, starting at all 18 and finishing with a winner. So I feel like we've discussed this in the past, but maybe it's worth revisiting soon as we have some new coaches at Amuso and stuff. So Sally's saying Kenny and Fags would be out first for sure.
I don't reckon that's true. I reckon Fags is out first.
Ken Hinkley, I reckon, is one of those like old school Aussie hitmen. He'd tear your eyeball out at a pub, drop it into his pot glass and scull it just to intimidate everyone else.
He'd have an elbow like in your throat before you had time to formulate whether you were going to throw a punch or not.
That's right. Yeah. He'd use every dirty trick in the book. He'd go nut shots, fucking eye gouge, fish hook you. You'd be in trouble with Ken. Right.
Absolutely. So no, I reckon Ken's not going out first. Fakes can go out first.
I reckon if they're all, it depends how the fight goes. If it's like they're all in a cage at once and so they can form alliances, I reckon the smarter ones like Ross and Chris Scott, the strategist, would enlist some of the other coaches to take down Dean Cox because that's the biggest threat, right? He's the biggest one in here. Dean Cox and Adam Kingsley.
Dean Cox is like that, you know, he's like that kind of could 100 men beat one gorilla, you know what I mean? Like,
I feel could 17 coaches beat one Dean Cox?
Yeah, I think you have to gang up on him pretty early on. Now, the Scott brothers, are they going to work as a team or against each other?
I reckon they work together, but then Chris...
Because eventually there can only be one, right?
Yeah, Chris will turn on Brad. Chris will sacrifice Brad, push him in front of Adam Kingsley and get his clock cleaned.
Oh, yeah, that's actually
so Adam Kingsley and Bevo, I reckon, like Bevo's the Wolverine of the coaches.
Yeah, I agree
short,
with that.
tough, muscular, just and a real bulldog by name, bulldog by nature. I reckon he's just ground and pounding guys.
Are we worried, though, about like Bevo protecting his new teeth? You know what I mean? Like, is there...
He's self-conscious about it, do you think?
Yeah.
Or maybe use it to his advantage. He's blinding his opponents before he grounds and pounds.
Yeah, he gives them a big smile in the moment they're about, and then bang, straight in.
I also kind of see in this big brawl, like Fags, like knocking himself out accidentally to start the fight, and everyone kind of forgetting about him because he's unconscious
on the whole way. But
then the other coaches kill each other, and then he stands up, holding his head, going, "Oh, has the fight started? Oh, jeez."
I mean,
they're just standing surrounded by bodies.
What's Matthew Nicks doing in this scenario while this is all happening, do you reckon? Is he doing the same thing he's doing with Adelaide this year and just sneaking under the radar and no one's really paying attention to him and he's suddenly...
Him and Sam Mitchell are sneaking around the back just shanking dudes. But like that kind of prison shank where they don't want the guards to see. So they're just going up and doing the quick with like a toothbrush shank just into the kidneys.
What about the new guys, Uze and Mick Walter? Like, what are they bringing to the table? Do you think
he's getting pushed into a locker? Like they all decide to bully him before they kill him.
They all bully. They all cook and eat him just as sustenance before they get into the actual fighting.
Right. He gets an atomic wedgie and then put on a spit and eaten. Uze, he scares me a little bit.
Yeah, I reckon Uze would go all right in this.
Uze is like the guy in a kung fu movie who just stands to the side in the suit.
Yeah, like what's his deal?
He's going to fuck someone
what's
up.
What's going on with this guy?
Nuts.
Yeah. And so Vossi, like we know... Like
tired old warrior, but he'll throw himself on a grenade to save someone.
But not willing to fight dirty enough, I reckon, Vossi.
Not willing to fight dirty enough, and will do something heroic. Like he'll hold the door or something and then die. He'll give himself for others. I could see that happening. Simon Goodwin.
Goody.
Turns coward. Screams and starts running out the door.
starts crying.
I don't know what I'm basing that on at all.
It's just nothing. It's just...
Someone has to do that. Someone has to turn like chicken.
So and he was the last person we got to, so it's him.
All right, moving on. Will, we wanted some feel-good stories, and we've got some feel-good storylines. This came from Stoz. Hey guys, we know who the hottest player are in the AFL, but I have a nom for the nicest. I just saw a video where a picture was going around Collingwood of Nick Dacos wearing a Carlton jumper as a kid. Pretty much all the players hate it and they want it destroyed. But our mate Oleg Markov speaks about what a great father Peter Dacos is and how he wants to be a father like that.
Oh,
Who
nice.
stands behind his kid, even if it really hurts. And God, that would have hurt. He's my new hero. It's a nice story.
Yeah.
I think that's the fly effect, right?
Yeah. I mean, also, I love Oleg Markov trying to find some way to compare himself to Peter Dacos.
This came in from Nick. Firstly, I have to echo some general sentiment you shared regarding footy media. This year has been the tipping point for me where I've disengaged with all of it as it's become too negative and hyperbolic. Well, as Will said, if you want discussions about which coach can climb a ladder fastest, welcome to our broad tent.
I mean, I'm willing to speculate each week on if people want to nominate a topic, up a ladder, in a fight, whatever it might be, and we can do a little riff on which coaches we think would be best at whatever.
Test of strength and intellect. Yes, test of strength and intellect.
Yeah. Any type of thing that they could compete in. I'm willing to speculate every week about how they go in a competition.
I like that. Umpires making mistakes. Well, we must have a crisis point with the umpiring. And now your show is the only football media I engage with. So thank you for what you do. As a Carlton fan, you asking for potential great football stories has only served to further my frustration with the Blues. The Sam Doherty story is the potential great news story that may not be. Sam grew up as a Carlton supporter before being drafted by Brisbane. After 2 years, in 2013, he was part of a mass exodus of players out of Brisbane and requested a trade to Carlton. Ironically, this is the year that Voss was sacked and Brisbane hit rock bottom. There's too much that it's occurred, so I'll detail a dot point. So in 2015, Carlton won the wooden spoon and Mick Malthouse was sacked. Yes. In 2016, Sam wins the best and fairest and gets named in the All-Australian squad. 2017, he gets named in the All-Australian team. 2018, he ruptures his ACL in the preseason, misses the entire season. 2019, named as co-captain with Patrick Cripps, then ruptures his ACL in the preseason for the second time, the next season. 2020 returns to play out the entire season, then is diagnosed with testicular cancer at the end of the season, receives chemotherapy. 2021, despite having chemotherapy in off-season, plays round 1 of 2021 and plays every game until round 15. At this point, he receives a recurrence of testicular cancer and returns to chemotherapy, missing the rest of the season. 2022 steps down as captain, but returns after chemotherapy to play a full season and comes second in the best and fairest. 2023 plays a full season, helping Carlton to finish third at the end of the finals. 2024, in round 1, he ruptures his ACL for the third time, somehow recovers and returns to the final against Brisbane, where they get demolished. In amongst all of this, he's received the Jim Starnes Community Leadership Award for using his platform to raise funds for cancer research and supporting children's charities. Even writing this brings a tear to my eye. Brings a bit of a tear to the eye. Brings a bit of a tear to the eye. It's my favourite.
Must have been cutting some onions in here because of
brings a bit of a tear to the eye. So it's safe to say that a stunning Carlton revival and premiership will be a good news story. Yeah, that would be.
Yes,
good. I can get behind that.
I absolutely can get behind that. What an absolutely inspirational person to have constantly, and just what it must be like to constantly get or be so close to what it is that you've always dreamed of having, to be named in the All-Australian team or to be the captain and then to almost immediately have that ripped away time and again and have to come back time and again. It's like, I don't think that Carlton are going to do it for him this season, but if they did and he managed to play in a Carlton premiership, I would love that story. What a great story.
We also put the call out for listeners abroad. This is the UK edition. This has come in from Mitchell. He says, "Hi guys, I'm writing as a former international 2 Guys 1 Cup listener. I'm now back in Australia with a unique reflection prompted by discussion on last week's pod.
Great.
See, I watched the 2016 Bulldogs Swans grand final in a pub in Fulham in London, strong arming pints at 4:30 on a Saturday morning." Wow. I was a neutral, but I was behind the doggies. The match was a beauty, and I got Miss Siaga and Bevo called Bob Murphy up to the dais. The discussion about Carlton's fans' outlook amid sustained mediocrity and the contrast with how Richmond fans were different before recent success took me back to that day. We ended up chatting with another group, including one bloke who was livid that the Bulldogs got up. That's what he perceived as a small club winning the flag. It was a blight on the game, according to him. I asked who he supported. Richmond, a big club, sure, but an absolute shambles at the time. Richmondy, if you will. Then nearly got rid of Dimmer at the end of 2016. Armed with that and perplexed by his hot take, I confidently rattled off a long list of clubs that would win a flag before the Tigers. That basically, this delusional entitled arsehole would have to wait a long time before I saw Richmond winning anything of a worth. Fortunately, given Richmond won a flag 12 months later, I've never seen this guy again play on 15. That is weird, though. I've never heard of someone saying like, "Oh, small clubs, it cheapens the premiership if a small club wins."
I think that is such a British attitude. So I don't know if this person was like an expat Australian, but I think that Premier League, like playing your players unlimited amounts so that the best teams can always be the best teams, is actually part of their sporting DNA. So I don't think that they do have the same perspective towards it. So even if this was an Australian person, maybe the fact that they were living in London or had spent a bit of time in London was part of that thinking as well.
This came in from Craig. Hey guys, just checking in as an overseas cuppa. I'm a dog supporter, originally from Brad Johnson country. Where's that?
Where is Brad Johnson from? I don't immediately know the answer to that.
I was always going to be leaving in late 2016, and I had the immense good fortune of booking a flight on Tuesday after the 2016 grand final. Charlie,
that's right. He's from the western suburbs somewhere, is my memory. I haven't found it yet, but Hoppers Crossing. So there.
Charlie, I'm sorry, but that day spent in the Zane Cordy pocket remains the best day of my life. I hope you get to experience that joy soon. After following my Brainiac partner's academic career to London, we've ended up living in Glasgow, Scotland. It's a wonderful city filled with the friendliest people I've ever had the good fortune to meet. I concur. I love Glasgow. However, even in 2025, the dark shadows of sectarianism still hangs heavily over the city. As you're probably aware, Glasgow is home to Scotland's two biggest football teams, the Catholic pope-loving Celtics. Celtics? Is Celtics or Celtics?
Celtic, I think.
Celtic in green.
That's what Ange Postecoglou coached them.
Celtic, right. And the Protestant king-loving Rangers in red, white and blue. The rivalry between these two teams runs incredibly deep. I've heard plenty of stories of violence enacted on people just because they have Irish heritage or because they work in the wrong colours in the wrong neighbourhood. Most of these stories seem to have taken place many years ago, but they're enough to scare me into never wearing my beloved Footscray scarf or beanie. Just confused. They'll bash you because they're confused.
Yeah, correct.
Gemma, like my wife is Scottish, and when she came to Australia, I was like, "Oh, I love footy." She's like, "I fucking hate football," and I was like, "Why?" And it's because she used to work in a pub, and she said during Rangers Celtics games there'd just be huge amounts of violence. Like they'd literally have to shut the pub and call the police because it would be so fucking full on.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we don't have that here, mostly, even though there was a fight at the footy the other night, I noticed.
I saw that, yeah.
I hate that. Like, that's not what... I know there's some people who think that that's what the football is for,
Who?
but that's not what the Well, the people having fights at the football, I think.
All right, this last one is from Lewis. Hey, guys, love the pods. I'm a Saints fan from Wales. From Wales. Oh, wow. I started following them in 2019 after visiting Australia, and they've been ensuring a miserable march to September ever since. I went to a couple of games while I was out there, including the season opener at the G, but inexplicably, out of Richmond, Geelong, Carlton and the Saints, it was the Saints that grabbed me. What could have been? It's pretty easy being a fan here, as no one knows they exist, but I was wondering how Charlie has avoided getting disillusioned at times over the years. Oh, it's like Stockholm Syndrome, right?
But you haven't avoided getting disillusioned.
No.
You do get disillusioned.
I do get disillusioned, but I can never leave them. This is my abusive partner that has gaslit me into thinking that if I leave them, somehow their lives will go on to be great. Yeah, that's why I can't quit, is because I know I'll leave. But they
also have not gaslit you into that any more than any team gaslights anyone into that. Like, every team offers the possibility.
Are you blaming me, Willie? You victim blaming me?
You've got to at least...
Why can't you just leave, Charlie?
I'm not sure you are the victim. Like, I don't think you are. I've been trying to get you out of this relationship for years.
How do you cope with this, Charlie? Especially recently, when it's not just the white dog shit standard football, but also what seems to be a constant stream of negativity that follows the Saints and the media due to the ramblings of Mr. White Lotus himself. That's been the best part of the season. I fucking hang out for a Ross Lyon presser. Did you see what he said before the D's game today?
No. What is
I mean, this is so funny. They joked a bit at the start because it was Fox that got the Nepo Babies quote out of him last time. So he was like, well, thanks, guys. You set me up there. I'm the only one who copped shit for that last week.
By the way, did you hear Damien Barrett refer to this story at any stage during the week?
Of course, yeah.
So did you hear his pronunciation of Nepo Baby that he was rolling around? Nepo Baby. Every time he said it, it was like the Nepo Baby. And I'm like, why is nobody stopping this interview and saying, Damo, why don't you know that it's Nepo Baby, not Nepo Baby? He kept saying it.
Before the game, he was sort of just rattling off all the the great D's players, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we saw Cozzy because they took the same charter plane apparently, the Saints and the D's, to get to Alice Springs."
Oh yeah, nice.
And so he walked past Cozzy at the airport and said, "Gubby Allen will be giving you a call, Cozzy, if you want to leave." It's so great. I love it. So hopefully that'll be headlines the next 3 days. But that is the show for this week. Hey, if you want to support us, you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/everyone relax. We put up full videos early. We put up the episodes early, and they're ad-free. Plus, while you're there, you can check out all our other great bonus content. Will, what have you got to promote?
Yeah, look, if you're in Queensland, particularly near Wynnum, I've added a show very last minute at the Wynnum Fringe. So I'm doing my show Will Legitimate a month from today, basically. So if you want to go to that, that'd be a fun thing to do. But I'm on tour all over the country. Comedy.com.au is the place to find all the information about that.
And we'll be back again next week. Play on, not 15.
Whoa.
Little footy loving dickheads, dreaming about a Premiership Cup. We love our clubs, but they never win. 2 flags in 100 years. That shit house. If you think we'll be insightful, clever, or just well researched, we're here to say that's not the case. We'll just go out and wing it. We are 2 guys, 1 cup.